Chinese culture about eating meat is like the Chinese has nothing uh, like they don't eat basically. They basically eat everything. As far as eating the meat, they say Chinese anything with 4 legs except a table. They eat anything.
In my video, I want to explore reasons people decide to eat meat or to become vegan. I want to bring to light specific cultural aspects that people may not know about, and talk about why eating meat is normalized in our society.
I think this culture really just normalized it. I mean, I know that there's a lot of instances where people do have to eat meat. Like, I understand that veganism is kind of like a privilege in some areas.
Before, I would say, in my days, when I was a kid, especially, I guess during those cultural revolution period, and also those years that Chinese really struggling, try to feed all the people, and whenever they have something meat to eat, especially the animal stuff like that, they will eat everything, they not save everything. As far as when I was a kid, I saw all the time how, especially during the festivals, how the pigs, the chickens, got killed, I saw all the time,
Like
they just use knife.
Just butcher their head, cut their head right off
Cut the throat.
in public.
The throat, Yeah,
This is in public, right? Like
public.
everyone can see.
Yeah. So yeah, it's cruel. I mean, to me, it's like I don't want to see that anymore. If somebody who even these days, I'm talking about these days, okay, for people who actually they eat meat, right? For instance, they eat the meat, but one day if they see, how these animals are killed, like what I saw, when I was a kid, I think that probably would actually change the mind, eating the thing.
Even though you saw that and you describe it as kind of like traumatizing, why do you still eat meat now?
I would say personal taste. People like to eat meat. I think it's in the end, it's all got killed anyway. Animals. That's how you can eat the meat. So it really doesn't matter. How see what I'm saying?
One is I think the most important is I grew up. I have known animals, be close to animals when I was in the countryside, and I kind of really like them. So it make it very hard for me to eat them. So as I eat little and less, I get used to not eating meat, and I feel comfortable with vegetables.
Okay, so I watched a lot of like documentaries and did a lot of research about the industry itself, how bad it can be, not just for the environment, but for like my health as well. Those are the two things that really resonated with me at first, was the environment and health, and then more so the ethical aspect of treating animals in a way that I think was right.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
On treating animals, right? I guess, so for me, I was very empathetic with seeing these types of documentaries, seeing these animals being like hurt and abused and killed. I didn't feel good about it. I wish I didn't have to. I felt like I was contributing to it, essentially, like with my money. So I didn't really want to be a part of something that I opposed so harshly. I didn't want to like be hypocritical, because in all aspects, like I don't want to damage the environment to as much extent as I can. I want to minimize that, and same for animals.
Right.
I just don't want to be a part of that.
Well, I guess then that builds up to my second question, which is, do you feel that your efforts alone can make a big enough contribution to the larger issue?
I definitely think what I do is impactful, and not just because I think of myself as like some sort of guy that has a lot of power, but more in a sense that like I'm trying, and if I can reach someone, then I'm doing okay. Because I don't know, I'm truly a believer in like, yeah, it's just like a drop in the bucket, but you need a bunch to do that, and if you want change, you kind of got to see that in the world.
Every single job make the river. So if you're taking some efforts, it's always, for me, you can always say, if nobody's going to do it, of course it's never going to happen. You can influence your friends. One is for myself, I really don't want to eat, regardless. Two is, if I wish more people would be aware, and they eat less, consume less, then probably it will help. It's just everybody contribute a little, so things might change.
It's normalized because since we were young, no one's ever told us that it's bad, at least growing up, and not just people, but like the industry doesn't tell you it's bad. They cover it up with a lot of like marketing stuff. Cultures make it seem okay because it's always been around for a while. Like for example, in Hawaii, everyone's fishing. No one's gonna, if I come up and say, oh, if you love the ocean, why do you fish so much? Because it's part of their culture, and then when you tax someone's culture, it gets very personal, I'd say. And I think it's also normalized just because it makes money.
Of course, that in the package, you don't even realize this is part of a life.
I think eating meat is normalized in our society partly because of our ability and our quote-unquote intelligence to disguise what we're actually doing by naming it different things. Like meat itself, for example, isn't us calling it what it really is. It's animals. Meat are just animals. Like, I don't know why we don't, like, we should call it that. We should be able to call beef cows and pork pigs if that's actually what we're eating, but we just disguise the atrocity of what we're doing by renaming it, and therefore in our heads making it okay. Also, like, the order in which we're introduced to what we're eating is also very interesting, like going off of that topic. Like kids, they don't know what they're eating, they just know what they're given. And if you teach a kid, if you give them like all of these little children's books of cows and making animals your friends and stuff like that, and then you give them a hamburger, they're not gonna know that that's the same thing because you called it something different. And when they learn later on in their life, they've already been so used to eating that hamburger that it doesn't shock them enough to actually be able to make a choice. Because if we present all the facts to them in the beginning, then we allow true choice. But otherwise, we take away that sense of agency.
So what I see it as is if you're against something or for something, you can, in this society, you can vote with your dollar. So if you're against these industries, yet you support them with your dollar, then it's kind of like hypocritical. So if you really want to see change, you have to really adopt this lifestyle that you make this choice like 3, maybe more than 5 times a day to eat food, you know, and like it's not like you're going to your own garden to get these foods. You're supporting these businesses that are growing off of, for me, animal cruelty and exploitation. So in terms of capitalism, like people, they exploit these animals for capital gain, and I don't want to contribute to that with my money, essentially. Because it's like me voting, saying like, keep this up, keep up the good work.